we're gonna record the whole thing, put it on all of our stuff later. Do what you want. We'd like more conversation around all of the things if possible. So yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
Are you guys doing one raising hands for voice questions or just text?
We might raise our hands. We're using this as like a how does this go first. I'll give y'all the inside scoop. We're planning a Twitter Spaces at some point soon. Yeah, so that's going to be when the invoice is going to happen.
That'll be awesome. I think you can raise your hand using the Discord app too, though.
You can. You definitely can.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, y'all. Make sure you get your founder access in before time's up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, love it.
You bet.
Thank you, sir.
All right, see y'all in the AMA.
Yeah.
Big hearts. Big hearts.
See you soon.
Thanks for letting us know.
All right.
Alright.
So fucking tired.
Time to jump in.
Wake up, Disney.
I know. I need to wake up.
He's got some finesse.
Take notes. Take notes.
Take notes. I'm actually Arctic's.
There'll be a quiz.
Right?
He's a fucking Chad. That's what he is.
Big quiz.
Relax and take notes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I
the
don't know.
yeah.
Right. Honestly, I don't know. That'd be a good question. If you want to ask that, I'd definitely go with that.
All right, yeah.
I didn't even think about that, honestly.
Type. Question 3.
Definitely want that. I think Arctics might be interested in that too.
Interested in what?
He's about to ask.
You gave me Arctic.
It's about ambassador. I can't even.
I'm literally typing that exact thing right now. Will there be any type of content creation program? Are there any plans to ...
Everyone upvote December. Don't you remember? Oh, wait, that's September.
Is that kind of what?
Oh my god! I saw it disappear for a second.
The guy does not like me.
Dude, I like how he gave them like a multiple choice exam.
Yeah.
Right there.
Guys, you should.
That's actually hilarious, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They're gonna look at that and go, "What the fuck?"
That is
dude, that's hysterical. Look at that shit. What if the answer's not on there?
Written exam. Then it says below it, written exam.
Hey, your big head's in the way. I can't see it.
Oh my god, dude.
It's its own ARG. It's like secret.
How come Voodoo gets 20 questions? He gets extra questions.
Andrew's the biggest
Oh,
troll.
thank
He's the
you.
Good Morning fam in the AMA. The biggest troll.
Yo, downvote it. Oh, wait, we're not allowed to downvote, right?
Just don't upvote.
Yeah, just don't. Nobody click on it. Just let it be blank.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, this guy just asked what even is this dog shit in general discussion? Like,
wow, he's so mature.
He's gonna last about 5 fucking minutes in here, man. I'm just holy shit.
They're so bold, though.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think this would go under, gaming or news and politics?
Well, see, we got to stop the FUD, guys. There's going to be so many, and believe me, there'll be competitors in here sending the bad actors to come in here and just talk all kinds of crazy, dumb shit about.
We'll talk them right out.
Autobots roll.
There you go.
I've been trying to be civil. Like, I was talking to one person and he was shit talking. I'm like, dude, I respect your skepticism, but like, I still believe in this project, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't agree with it, doesn't make it wrong.
Exactly.
Exactly.
there it is.
Have we achieved adults?
Can I get a yeah? Let me
You did this on purpose.
See, I would do it, but I haven't stretched out my jawline today.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
Hey guys, have we achieved adult?
Maybe. I'm not
When's the
gonna
last
say
time you
yes
checked?
Bro, no one achieves the top tier
10 years ago.
adult, okay? No one does.
Wait, why is everyone downvoting that one dude?
Because he
There's a channel dedicated to Good Morning. He knows better. He's
It's
the troll.
the same troll.
He just said, Good Morning, fam.
Did someone type GM?
Yeah, but he knows there's a Good Morning chat.
Yeah, but you can't downvote. They said if you get caught, you're gonna.
So you're gonna let him troll?
Who are you talking to?
I mean, everyone that troll gets removed, right?
Is DrDisrespect streaming the AMA?
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
This is more for the Midnight Society in the Discord, I think.
This
part
is
of
getting.
he's doing the cycle beta. These questions.
Wait, so Doc's
Not
actually gonna
Doc.
be here, right?
I don't know. I don't know if Doc is. I don't know if the Doc is actually gonna be here.
I don't think he will. I think it's
Is he
more of
streaming
a...
still?
Yeah, he's streaming. He's playing Cycle right now.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be here. Plus,
I
they
don't
have
think so
they have
either.
12 the other devs to answer questions.
Yeah, and that's the
13
job
to be
of the devs
exact.
to answer
13.
those questions.
Yeah, exactly.
13 devs, guys, not 12, 13.
And this stuff is gonna go live. They said anyway they were recording it.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Excuse me.
It's Unreal Engine 5. I don't know
Yeah,
if you.
it's confirmed to be on Unreal Engine 5, yeah.
Unreal Engine.
Unreal
5.
Engine, you can have a lot more access with that one, right? It's not just locked to one person.
Have you seen the Matrix game?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
just remember when I streamed that on
I
here.
haven't watched anything of it.
Yeah,
I won't
man,
be
it was
surprised.
badass.
Guys, you remember when I
Good and night
There's
tested.
still multiple engines that they were talking about adding in as a plugin into Unreal Engine 5, by the way.
Right.
What are tick rates? What?
Tick rates
Oh, we can
are
share a
the
screen now?
server.
I'm gonna show that thing I was
how many
talking about
times
the
the
other night.
server
12 tick
refreshes
servers.
in a given second.
Yeah, can someone just please explain it to me? Because I'm stupid too old.
So,
Yeah.
and to put it in simple terms, your monitor, right,
Yep.
is 144 hertz, let's say, right?
Whatever.
So
Okay.
let's say a typical server is about 60 ticks or 60 hertz in this case, right? So the server updates around the length of time for positional game awareness and everything with other players that many times in a given second. That's all that means.
Okay.
It's just the amount of times it updates.
Okay, I got confused when someone asked that. It's a tick rate. Like I'm not, I'm not super like I don't know a lot about any of this development stuff or what monitors do. All I know is
But you don't know what monitors do? Come on, dude.
Why do you gotta troll me, Arctix?
You
Really?
repeating your own words, homie.
Do you realize
Yikes.
I messed up my words?
Who are you guys talking to that I can't hear?
Talking about audio?
Did you?
Don't.
Oh my god.
Don't. You're gonna freak him out, dude.
I mean, I'm just asking because.
So I don't know how many people were here last night, but I was trying to explain how they're gonna use that empty text
What'd I do?
box. So remember, so I don't know how many people were here, like I said, but basically so how they're gonna use that in the survey and that section where it says, hey, if there's anything more you would like to see with the Founders Pass, right? And that how they're gonna just see this is more of a survey. So this is kind of what I was trying to explain the other night of how they're going to just go and take all their data, right? And if you want to look at like this line 17 here, they're going to basically just go run all of this, every single one of these strings is a unique like text box response, right? So somebody said fan art, another person said blueprints, right? For like stuff they've done. Another one said whitelist, another said whitelist, live event, right? And all these things are different like inputs that people put in. What they're going to do is they're going to go through all that stuff. They're going to map all this stuff, and then they're going to get some output like this, right? For every word that they see that's unique, right? They're going to basically create what we call a key, and they're going to give it a value. And in this case, the value is the code shows here. I'll kind of briefly explain it in layman's terms. So a dictionary is kind of like a storage where you put key value pairs, so a key goes to something, so it's kind of like a variable. And then you have this split just means that I'll take this entire string and I'm just going to split it by the spaces. So we call these delimiters, where they just separate out the words. So what they're for is a loop for every something in this. So for every word I have in the list, I'm going to check if it is already in my list of things, right? If I already have seen this word before, increment the amount of times I've seen the word by 1. If it's a brand new word, let's add it to the list and start with saying we've seen it once. And then we go through every input, and then we get this list, right? So this would be this is a very small sample size to what they're going to have, but this would be basically how they're going to implement that kind of a thing to filter out all our responses. And what they will do is there's something called head and tail. So head, when you're talking about like in data science, is like the front of your data, and then you have tail, which is at the back. So if they order this entire thing to be like from largest to smallest, then what they would see first is that fan art is the most requested thing, and then they're going to know to work on that, right? And then at the tail would be the least seen thing. So in this case, Space Bob, even though I know that's not going to be true. That's just the example here. But that's kind of what they're going to do with that and stuff. So, and that this is the same exact thing they're going to do for all those, what's it called? Every input, like all those ones that you check, they're going to have, each of those are set to some kind of a feature, right? So for every single time, like, remember how it said, how are you most likely going to be involved? I'm going to be a player. I'm going to be a content creator, right?
Be like an introduction to what's going on kind of thing, and like obviously answering as many questions as they can, but it's just to like clear the air for a few different things and like check on a couple people's interests in what they'd like to know about the actual game, not just the fact that it's gonna incorporate the magic numbers somehow.
I posted
magic
a
letters.
new tweet.
This is gonna be. There's actually a really, like you said, a lot of good questions in here.
A lot have already been answered in some way, shape, or form in the community, but it's good to like get a big stage for some of those questions that have already been answered. So everybody,
I want to give myself a
the air.
nickname because I remember I was pre-variant like 8. I was. Oh wait, no, I was even earlier than that. What am I kidding? I think I was 2.
Such a Discord noob. I couldn't figure out how to.
I have to go back to my
assignment
Discord.
shit. Like this is like actually like my first real Discord dive.
Let me go to my protocol and see which one it was that it said that I was.
Yeah.
Well, I was in here day 1 and like clicking buttons and they weren't working, and then they were working, and then I was like, fuck, this is crazy. And then I thought if I left and came back it would work, but then when I left and came back it didn't work. And it ended up just being like until
Loru and
February
Nikolai already in there. So when we get in there, just remember you're not gonna be able to talk.
No, it's just a
it's
listen
gonna
party.
be muted, so just
gonna watch your stream.
Keep that in mind. I'll have the
It's
stream
just gonna
up.
be like a watch party. It's not.
Kind of, yeah.
Listen party, if you will.
That's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think we'll be able to talk, to be honest. What the?
Yeah.
I was number 2, bro, with pre-variant. Man, I gotta change that shit. I was 2. I knew it. How do I change my
Man, this game is so gamma-y. Fucking hell, dude.
We're 3 away from 20 on that second question. Let's go. Push it over 20, baby.
20 dice in the chat.
I'm dead.
Almost. We're still at 17.
It's a dope
Get them upvotes.
No emote, man. Obviously
Thank
made
you.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you know you an OG when you're pre-variant number 2. I had to scroll through my entire protocol to remember what that number was. Oh
I think
man.
I'm like 2,000 or something.
Dude, it's so cringe. All the facial animations for Halo Infinite's campaign are all 30 FPS, while everything else is running at higher. Oh,
Yeah, 2,444.
Well, until I see both of those people go to unmute, I'm sticking in here. That's at least all I know.
Yeah, Loru said it starts in 15 minutes, so keep the questions coming.
I'll just join like 5
probably
minutes
Keep them
before.
coming.
Unmute until then.
What do we got?
It
Oh
sounds like
yeah. Let's go. We're at 18.
See,
Let's
I
be an
think the
online.
hardest part is understanding what the AMA is going to be more in reference to the game or the Founders Pass.
I think it's going to be both. I mean,
Obviously,
there's no
but-
game right now. So,
Yeah.
like, I think clarifying between, what their announcement was yesterday versus what their future announcements are going to be, I think is important.
Is there like a confirmed map making thing, like time splitter stuff? Or
There's nothing about the game has been confirmed aside from the fact that it is going to be a competitive FPS PvP game.
There's a
That's the
question in
only
the
confirmed.
there's a question in the list about map making and stuff like that in game.
Did anyone
Well,
ask
so-
if we can be in multiple guilds? Like if you wanted to work on.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I haven't been able to look at all of them, to be honest. It's
a good
kind of
question.
a meaty list now. I'm just going to
Confirmed that
assume it's
the
been all
guilds
asked.
aren't binding, so you'll be able to do anything.
Oh, that's actually sick. So
What'd
you're
you
not
say?
locked into.
You're not locked. It's more of like they're curious. That's what I was saying. It's a survey, right? They're gonna go through all those options. I'll do another one when this AMA is over. A more specific one, I guess. I have to pull up the application.
People complete the not challenge get higher
But
chance of founder.
basically, they're gone. All those inputs are gonna get mapped to just some easy to see values, and they're just gonna every time someone selected it,
Space Bob DLC.
they're going to just have a flag that goes up, and they're going to see what most people are interested in, or more people interested in the round table, or more people interested in the playtesting, right? And all those different things. They're not anchored down, right? They have ideas for all these things, but doesn't mean that they're all like you're held in place to that, right? They're just seeing that you're going to actively be involved with it, and they're going to see if you're correlating your answers that makes sense, right? So if you say you're going to most likely be a player, and then you say you're going to be at the round table, that's a little...
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Basically to filter out bots as well.
Yeah, so if you're saying you're a player and you don't pick play testing, you're most likely, it's more like, why? The thing is I'm almost positive, and I've been saying this and people have been agreeing with me here, is that I do not see this being the only application. There has to be a phase 2, because this doesn't really tell you anything about yourself. This is more of like a background check. They're checking all your socials to see if you're actually a real person that's involved in gaming and stuff, right?
Yeah, well, they've been pretty public about the narrative that they're taking when they select who's going to be on here. They want people that legitimately want to be involved and want to help shape the game. So
exactly.
Yeah,
but there's
I'm
almost
console only. So
then you have to know
for me,
about the
I'm not
person.
super active on social media, but I am an active gamer.
Yeah, that's the
and
thing,
I'm
though,
sure
is that
but they'll have metrics to differentiate that. That's why the questions are worded the way they are, and that's why you have an opportunity to add more stuff to the field at the end there. One of the things that I asked Angel to add to the website was just kind of a generic suggestion thing towards the end that wasn't really specified anything, where people can add more information if they wanted to. And I'm sure all that stuff in general will be weighed when they're making a decision. And keep in mind again that this is outside of the 500 people, because a lot of the people that are within the 500 threshold are asking and concerned and worried, but it's already a done deal. If you're one of the 500 airdrops, you're in.
You're good.
Don't
You don't
worry.
need to worry.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Side note,
It's
Arctix, you
autopilot.
got your Discord with the hashtag 0001. That's sick.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned when we linked all of our accounts that we should have 2FA. If the website got hacked or something, like it wouldn't be able to pull anyone's information, would it?
No, I'm sure, especially with crypto,
They're just
gonna have
verifying
multiple
that
layers of
that it
encryption.
exists, right? So
Yeah.
listen, they're not actually, some of them required
No,
you
I'm
to
not
sign up
saying
because
that they
that's the
would.
quickest way to implement the
9
API.
minutes.
But
Dude, I had a
minutes
hard time
left.
just linking all my shit because of all the security numbers I had to put in.
yeah, it's
There was a
so
lot of
some of
checks you
them
had to
were.
do
It was
just the
easier
links.
to just have a connection option, such as Twitter and stuff like that, to just because it's an easier API to put on your website than to just write your own that goes and checks manually, right? Versus like the Blizzard one, right? You didn't have to sign in; you just put your name. It said, "Does it exist?" and then that was it. That's kind of all it went for. But the reason that they're still asking you those things is they're gonna see your like gaming history. How many hours do you have maybe in a game like Overwatch? How many hours do you have in Valorant, I should say? What games do you play on Xbox, and how many hours do you have in them? How do you have achievements? Are you competitive?
They already have all that data when we signed up.
Play that game primarily.
So.
Does anybody have a question that they haven't put in the AMA yet?
Well, I'm trying to remember what mine was.
I didn't read every single one in there.
Now
so.
everybody does know that you will be able to, like, let's say you get a PFP that you don't necessarily want or like, or the attributes aren't what you want. You'll be able to trade within the community without losing any of your benefits or privileges, right? So
yeah.
So just remember that we'll be able to, they're kind of creating a marketplace here for every game that follows this game being
Where's the social
in
feed,
that
right?
same
So they actually
space, you know?
that if
Who
you want to
included
watch
me?
that most recent thing in the social feed, that's exactly what we were talking about the other day about how there's going to be like how they're user generated things, right? So you have the backgrounds, which you'll see that's the first thing that it
Right.
goes through, right? And then it goes through the why is the video player not working for me, bro? What the hell?
I'm gonna jump up there, guys. I don't want to miss anything. I know it's early, but I'm gonna jump up there. So I'll see you up there.
So you have background, then you have time of day, then you have weather conditions, then you have back weapon, right? And it filters through all of those. Then it has your front weapon. Then it if you're gonna it seems that you might be able to have 3 weapons because that was filtering through whether or not you're gonna have a back weapon the other direction or not. And then because here's the thing you need to know is that there's a chance that your attribute can be none. So you could have a profile picture where you have no back weapon at all, which would suck, but that can happen. That's the rarity thing, right? So it's more often than not you're going to get a none versus having multiple weapons on your back, right? So that second weapon on your back might be a lot rarer than just having one on your back. Like having one might be common compared to all that. And then the clothing options, right? Clothing versus armor is going to be completely different, right? So
I'm gonna head over there too.
Rarity. So
I'll catch you guys there.
So yeah, and then you have hair, rarity, weapons, and skins on the weapons. Then you have the visor camos. Then you have the visor itself. So,
all right,
and then you have helmet attachments.
All right,
and then weather again.
If you're interested in joining the AMA and hearing them out, feel free to start heading over so you're not there last minute.
Yeah, I'm heading there now before I get jail locked out. So see you later.
Yeah. See you guys in the AMA. If you don't feel like
here for the debrief,
I am also streaming the AMA, so feel free to join there as well. See you guys in just a little bit.
What up? Neptune, what game is Neptune? What game is it?
I was on YouTube.
What?
What game is Neptune playing?
The Cycle Frontier.
Is it a new game?
Yeah, he's playing Cycle Frontier. I'm about to download that shit right now too.
Wait, is it free?
It's pretty good.
what up, Haru?
It's kind of free, yeah. You just gotta get approval.
Yeah, man, chilling. Wait, what's the goal?
All right, I'm actually just about to hop out so I can go into the AMA.
Wait, what's the goal?
I'm just watching Arctic stream, man.
What's AMA?
If you scroll up, the pre-variant AMA, it's the whole ask and answer thing regarding the founders access.
Okay.
I
It starts in just a couple
That's
minutes.
good because there's a lot of people on YouTube now who are trying to have a crusade against it. Like there's a YouTuber, there's this guy named Geeky whatever.
Yeah, we know about all that, man.
Yeah.
Well,
he's tuning in too.
His name is in the ARG. Like he was like part of
He's
this for months
literally a
leading up
day
to
one
it.
guy.
There's literally like a lot of backstory to it, and he's been doing a lot of shit on Twitter, and it's pretty gross. But he's in the chat right now, and I'm sure like
he's in the chat
whatever.
now. I don't
He's in
understand
the
people like
he's
that.
in the AMA. Like he's going to be listening
Yeah.
in or recording it or whatever he wants to do. But
Why is it so? Why is it so hard to verify, man? Yeah.
oh, are you staying in here, Neptune? And Billy?
Oh
and
no, I'm
Harry?
going.
All right. Well, then I guess I'll go too. I don't have to watch Arch Extreme, but I will because I'm nice.
All right. Bye bye.
Going to the AMA. Bye bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting our final preparation underway. We got about 5 minutes left for the first ever Midnight Society AMA for the developers. Make sure if you have a burning question, you put it in the hashtag pre-variant AMA chat and do a quick scroll through and throw an upvote to your favorite questions. We are going to be picking based on what the community sees to be the most burning question. So thanks very much. A couple minutes left and we'll get stuff going. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pre-variants, welcome to our first ever Discord developer AMA for Midnight Society. Before we get started, thank you so much from all the devs at Midnight Society for an absolutely incredible day zero. The hype, the energy was immaculate and fantastic. Make sure that if you haven't already, you head to midnightsociety.com and you fill out your founder access pass. This is a limited time engagement. We want to make sure that the core community gets in on all the perks that the founder access pass has to offer. With me on stage today, we have our studio head, Rob, and our director, Quinn. So thank y'all for being here. Those are the two people that are going to be answering our questions. If you have a burning question that is, you're not seeing answered, make sure you put it in the pre-variant AMA chat. I'm going to be monitoring it. If you see a question you have that has already been put in the chat, make sure you upvote it, and we'll see it from there. So, Rob, Quinn, are you both ready?
Ready.
Ready, and
I'm not ready.
Rob's not ready. Okay.
All right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I figure we'll start at the top because Billy and Cher was the first one to submit a question ready, just with that copy paste, absolutely ready for when the chat opened up. So thank you, Billy and Cher. First question. Are we sure, can we have private or custom lobbies in the game that we're going to be making?
Are we going to have private or custom lobbies?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good one. I mean, there's lots of stuff that we are still trying to figure out about the game, especially at a high level. That's where we're kind of thinking right now. And when it comes to features like that, that's why we have the founders access in the program that we're doing, so we could hear the voices of people like you, so we could get these kind of this feedback, this discourse back and forth with each other. And that's personally why I'm super excited about what we're doing here at Midnight Society is trying to do this with the fans and with the community. So that's I guess my best answer to that is we are still trying to figure out some of those things, and that's why we want you here along with the ride, so we could hear from you and what you want. What are you interested in? I don't know if you want to add to that, Rob, or whatnot.
Yeah. This is a perfect question because like it touches on a lot of very specific minutia of how the game's going to run, how you play together, different options you'll have on different platforms, all really great stuff. Most of this stuff isn't decided yet, right? Like that TTK, like I definitely have my preference. I'm with you, right? Like I love fast TTK. I think there's also a lot of discussion on like potentially different modes that could exist that have varying different TTKs. But these are the exact everything you just wrote in here, Billy and Chair. These are the exact things that we need to be talking about in these dev roundtables that we bring you guys into. When we talked about day zero, we literally meant day zero, right? Like I've seen a few articles online already talking about like, oh, we're opening up access to a game that doesn't exist. That's the point. The point is that we are going to build this together. And so while we've had, Deez and I and the dev team, we've had very in-depth conversations every single day as we're building this foundation of where we would like to go with it. We're trying not to draw a lot of those lines in the sand just yet because we want you guys there as we're having those discussions, there having a voice in that, right? So if I'm in there fighting for a faster TTK and Deez is like, hey, let's slow down, right? Like, or let's do this, or maybe we introduce this element that would slow it down a little bit. We also want voices like Billy and voices like Taco and Disney and all of them coming in and saying like, well, here's what I think and why, right? And having those back and forth conversations. But then most importantly, being able to then make a decision, get that into the build, have you guys download the build, play it, and then come back to the conversation. Be like, hey, it's not hypothetical anymore. We tried it out. What do we think? Did that feel good? Or did that feel like, like a little too fast or a little whatever, right? And that is we are at the gateway right now of crossing that Rubicon of going from these being hypothetical conversations to them being literal decisions, being in a build, us playing it, and then coming back and having the same conversation, iterating on it, right? something we normally do day in day as we develop games. And I'm sorry, get used to this. This long-winded answer, get used to it because I'm going to be doing this the whole time. This is what we are talking about, right? Is like those are the conversations, those meaty conversations that I'm so excited to have that we normally have as a dev team every single day for 2 years, but they don't reach you until they're locked in, right? And so I'm really excited for that. And like you've touched on a lot of things here, Billy, that I'm really into, and I'm excited to see the specific flavor of personality that our game evolves into, right? What we do know is we do know we're 100% multiplayer focused, so everything we are doing is all about that competitive PvP multiplayer. And then we need to figure out what modes are right for us, what speed is right for us, what is the core locomotion, and we're definitely going to go in a direction that we like, and then come back to the table and talk about like, okay, we have the base, how are we iterating, where are we going from? So like I'll be, completely transparent with you guys that a lot of these very specific game questions of like, how does this work? It's like, that's what we're going to figure out together in a lot of ways. And anywhere that we can tell you, and I think it would be great, Deez, for you to say, well, here's how I feel today, right? But I just want everybody to be aware of like, that means that's our starting point, right? And then that's the start of the conversation. It's not the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, 100%. That's really good stuff. And I think another part of that is good is each of these build drops or flights that we're going to be doing. We'll get focus on those, and we'll get into, hey, this one we're focusing on these kind of mechanics. We're focused on this, and yeah, you can provide feedback on other stuff by all means. We're not going to exclude that, but we're going to also try to keep it very catered and measured on the things that we're going for. And a lot of that is going to be that minutia, and then we can engage in those kind of conversations back and forth. And that's what's going to be great about this whole process.
Awesome. Well, I hope you got a good enough answer there, Billy and Chair, As if to have an easy segue, Turtle has given us an incredible question right next to Billy's and says, with regards to the game development process, what steps have been taken to ensure that founders or variants, that their community feedback will actually matter and be utilized rather than be seemingly ignored like we've seen with so many other gaming companies over the last decade?
That's a really good question. And so just to give you a little inside baseball of the sort of challenges to doing open development, because let me say, like, doing open development, and I tell this to everybody who we're interviewing and that we're talking about joining the team, like, I'm very upfront with them, is we are deliberately choosing to make developing this game harder for us as a dev team. Because normally you have a lot of luxuries designing in a bubble, right? You don't have to worry about getting the build out to a bunch of different machines and optimizing it for people and sort of polishing areas that you don't have to worry about right now because that's going to come online later in development. There's all these things that you don't have to worry about during development because it's just the internal team playing it, right? Now, doing open development, that means that we now have to worry about a lot of this stuff, right? We need to get working builds on varying different PCs of different specs, and on consoles we have to pass certification, right? Which they have, each platform has their own list of things that we have to make sure that it's stable and it works even when it's in an early state. But more importantly, to address specifically what you're talking about, Turtle, is because we want to facilitate actual constructive feedback and back and forth, there are also a few features that we normally wouldn't worry about at this stage, like those feedback loops, right? Because there's two ways that we're going to do this. There's the telemetry data that we're going to gather from the build. That is like the hard data of like, okay, we have heat maps, we understand where players are, we understand where the most activity is happening, we understand like, oh, this person spent this amount of time in the game. So there's certain information we can glean from data, right? And that data will be light early on because, the scope of the build might be light. And then later on, when we get the full multiplayer sessions and all of that, there's a lot more telemetry data to pull from. And then there is the subjective information, right? The opinion-based information, like One person thinks the TTK is fast. One person thinks it could be faster. One person thinks it should be slow and tactical. One person has an opinion about the recoil pattern of the AR, right? The default AR. Another person thinks like, this should be a melee-based game, whatever it is, right? I'm using extreme examples. That opinion-based feedback, we want to make sure that we have an equal balance between the ways to report that kind of stuff in-game and the way we do that on the platform. And when I say the platform, I mean we are building the Foundation Pass or the Founders Access Pass and MidnightSociety.com and that whole account system. That is the foundation for which all of this lives, right? And the reason that we're sort of creating this account system in the way that we are is so that, and the reason we have that very detailed questionnaire to choose who are going to be founders is so that not only can we make sure that we pick people who have a shared interest in what we're trying to do for the long term, but also so that we can build that filter for, well, what perspective is that coming from, right? So for example, if someone's asking for like extremely competitive esports focused features and that's coming from a professional esports player, that makes sense, right? And that should be taken with that context versus somebody who's asking for something else and they're like, oh, like, I want a lot of RNG elements and I want, this to be that. And they're talking about a lot of things that sort of make the game more accessible and less competitive, right? And if we see that information coming from an esports player, that's really interesting, right? Because it feels counter to what they would normally want versus if we see that coming from just an average casual player. And so this system, we're building a lot of tools. How we're building the platform is looking at, okay, how do we bring in information? How do we allow people to voice their opinion, share it, and then also how do we organize that in a way that's digestible and actionable? That's the most important stuff. So that's a long-winded way of saying that's a lot of the stuff we're looking at right now, or what are the tools we're doing. And I can tell you that there's a combination of stuff we'll be doing in-game in the build that allows you to report stuff that would be tied to your telemetry data, but then also look at things that we can do on MidnightSociety.com where you can just come and drop your feedback in for us to review. Now, this is a highly iterative process. This is not like our game. Normally when you do a beta, right, you're doing it for marketing purposes. You're like, okay, we want to drum up our user base and we want to get people in preparation for launch, right? Or you're doing a technical beta where you're testing load testing and you're making sure that your backend's working and your matchmaking's working and all of that stuff. We're going to be opening up the build so early on that a lot of the stuff we're talking about are core decisions, core balancing, core things that are key to the gameplay itself. And so it's very different from doing a technical beta or doing a marketing beta. It's very much it's all about that opinion-based feedback in the early days, right? And so that's going to be the stuff that we talk about in these dev roundtables. Now, how we do it, we're going to figure it out, right? It might change over time. But I think in the early days, I want to be as transparent as possible. And that is also why we are limiting the amount of founders, because if we were opening it up to the world and letting anybody they want play early, right? If we were going to have 1 million users come in, which would be great if we were trying to make the most money, we would just open it up to anybody who wanted to buy their way in. But we don't want to do that. We want to limit it so that we can have these very constructive conversations. And when we sit down for the roundtables, we can bring up that feedback, right? And keep it all public and be like, yo, Turtle said this. What do we think about that? Here's what we're thinking, right? And then we sort of all get a consensus, and then Deez walks away from that very informed, and he's like, all right, yeah, like they seem really into this specific direction. Let's try it, right? And then the dev team's job is to go incorporate that into the game, to try it out, to be like, oh, let's see what that feels like, right? Like we're moving in this direction. They really want this feature. They want to prioritize this over that, whatever it might be. We try it out. We put it into the game. We update the build, and then we all play it again, right? That's the feedback loop that we're looking to get into, is taking that feedback that we take through the platform and the tools, making informed decisions about it. When there's questions or there's like nuance or debate, bringing that to the public forum. And when I say public, I mean the founders, making decisions, going back and iterating, right? Now, obviously, we have a vision for what we want to do overall, right? So, and we really see ourselves as starting the conversation, like being like, hey, based on our expertise, based on our experience, this is the way we want to go. And then really fine tuning that based on everybody's involvement.
Incredible answer. Anything from you, Quinn?
Hey man, you can't improve on perfection, man.
There you go.
I'm just here clapping my hands. We're good.
Right.
Woo!
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm gonna jump down the chat a little bit. Ooh, Quinn, can you mute yourself, sir? I'm gonna jump down the chat a little bit because I see this question come up a lot, especially after we launched the day zero talking points, after we launched the new website, and I just want to make sure that we answer this because this is one that I see a lot. This is from midnight, but spelled with an X instead of a G and GH. Excuse me. Will we have to wait some weeks to receive our airdrop when the founders' applications are done, or do we get them immediately?
Seems like a good one for you, Robbie.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading conspiracy chat.
As one does.
Yeah. So how the process works, I'll just give you the high level process because I think it's going to answer your question. So right now the applications are open. They are open for like 6 more days. That is just to give time for everybody, all the hardcore people who have been here from day one, make sure that they get their applications in, right? And then we have the approval process. So there's a lot of waiting that happens on making sure that it's bubbling the ones that we want to the top, right? And when I say the ones that we want, that's kind of a diverse answer because it is a combination of our ideal founder is people who have been here since day one, right? We made the announcement on December 14th. Like 30,000 of you were like, I'm there, right? I'm in. I love it. Let's go, right? You joined the Discord, you got involved. Then we did the ARG, the Midnight Protocol ARG. And then tons of you did that, right? The hardcore of the hardcore went through the ARG and they were some of the first 500. That is why we had the airdrops, because we wanted to make sure that the hardcore, the most engaged, most active, the most passionate about what we're doing, and the most vocal about like what they want to see, were guaranteed in, right? So that airdrop means that you're one of the most active, earliest members of the Day Zero Society, and we want to make sure that there's no barrier to entry for you getting in. So you're going to automatically be approved. You get the highest score system. So when we go to the database and we're like looking at all the applicants, those 500 that got airdrops are at the top of the list, and they will be awarded the founders access, right? So they don't have to pay anything.
Clear, the first 500 that completed the ARG are in for the founder access.
Yes. So they don't have to pay anything. You do have to submit your application so you have a Midnight Society account, and then we will airdrop you once all applications are approved. We will airdrop you along with the approved applicants your link to mint your founders access, which means you then go to Midnight Society, the new section of it, and you'll be able to reveal your variant design, and then that's also where you will get access to daily questions, the platform where you download the PC version of the builds, or will eventually get your key to download it on consoles. So all that will happen on your founder's profile once you get the link. So that happens after all applications are approved, which is about I think it's a 3 to 4 week period. Because right now we're at last I checked a couple hours ago, we were at like 80,000 applications. We're fast approaching 100,000. Who knows where we will be in 7 days, right? So there's a lot to go through. Like I said, we have an algorithm that sort of judges them on a lot of criteria and sort of puts them in different buckets. So we're sort of like, okay, here are the top scoring player applications, and here are the top scoring developer applications. Here's the top scoring content creator applications. You remember the first question in the application is like, oh, well, what perspective are you coming from? Are you coming from a player perspective? Are you coming from a content creator? we don't want just all of one, right? We don't want 100% of founders to just be players. We definitely don't want 100% of founders to just be professional athletes or content creators. We want a nice diversity of all. So don't feel like you have to be in one of those buckets. We really want to make sure that we have a diverse set of opinions, right? We do want to know what the big content creators are playing because they have a good opinion on what's entertaining to watch from a passive standpoint, right? But also we want the player's perspective of what is the most entertaining to play. What do you want to play? And then we also want a developer's perspective of like, what they want to see technically in a game. So we really want that diverse set. So we need several weeks to go through those applications. And then once we go through all of those and pull and pick those 10,000 people who make up that diverse group of founders, that's when the airdrops will receive their links and the people who have approved will receive their links. The only difference between the two links is the airdrop people just instantly get it. They don't have to pay anything. And anybody who is not airdrop obviously have to, buy their founders access pass.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just to be clear about one more thing, you hit on something very important, that we're not just picking the best influencers with the highest following or esports stars. So those people that have been concerned whether they should take the time to go do the founder access pass, they're not going to pick me. They should just do it anyway because they might get picked to become founders. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. Right?
Awesome.
Like we don't want it to sway too much in any direction, right? But I will say my gut tells me that the mass majority of the approved applicants are just going to be players, just normal players who are just coming to play and enjoy the game.
Players, ladies and gentlemen, players. There it is.
Yes, the thing we don't want is we don't want people who don't want to be invested in the community. They like if somebody just wants it to, have it or sell it or whatever, like they are not our ideal person. We want people who want to be actively involved, who have a strong opinion about what they want this game to be. And that is why we have an application process. If we just wanted it to be anybody, right, we would have just opened it. We would have just sold it like a normal game. That is not the goal here. Eventually the game will be out and commercial and anybody can play it and spend money in it, but we are a long ways from that point. Right now we're talking about the early access people.
Right, not resellers, not holders, founders. Very important. Love that. Well, here's a nice question from Killstrike25 that says, and we were kind of talking about how the founder access would work post once we pick everybody. Will the website have a login area specifically for founders that lets the founders access and see behind the scenes content? Is that where our voting is going to be? Or is everything going to be built into Discord itself?
Yes, the short answer is yes. So you will log into Midnight Society. That will be where your account is, that is linked to all your other accounts. And then that is where we will have questions. We will, that is where we host the build. So if you're on PC, you will download it there. That is also where you will access your token to download it on the other platforms that are not PC. But then a lot of stuff is going to happen in here. So once you connect your Discord account, that gives you access to the variant only channels here in Discord. And that's where a lot of the conversations are going to happen. Things like we're doing here. So right now, this is a pre-variant AMA. It's open to, the pre-variants because nobody is a founder yet. But eventually, a lot of these private conversations are going to happen in the private Discord channels, the variant only Discord channel, which you get access to by linking your Discord account to your founder's access account. And so a lot of those conversations we'll hear. The good news is for people who do not become variants, again, this is still an open development process. So why those 10,000 have the seat at the table to sort of do the back and forth and give us feedback that we can sort of make actionable, they are meant to represent the voice of the wider community. So those conversations, those play tests that we do, those are not private, right? You might not be able to have access to download the build if you're not in that 10,000, but we will be streaming it. We will be showing that stuff. We will be creating videos out of it. So you will, even if you are not a founder, you will at least get to see that stuff that's happening. so that you can make sure that you are informed on what's happening. And then think of it as the founders are the representatives of the greater community.
Yeah, there's
Love
nothing
that.
secret there when we're doing those. Like, totally going to be open. Let people check it out, see it, watch it, stream it, all that stuff.
Love that. Well, I actually have a question for you, Quinn. It fell on my list. One sec. Always the live. Question from FourZeroTwo, probably for you, Quinn. What kind of anti-cheat is being looked at for codename Project Moon?
If we were to tell you, then it would be easier to cheat, wouldn't we?
I see.
That's
Someone's
just me
trying
being,
FourZero. Get him out of the Discord. Get him out.
just me being cheeky. Yeah, that is a conversation that is still we're looking at, but right now we're still looking at the high level decisions and the things about the game, the core of it, everything that players are going to be playing, from the mechanics to what's it going to be like when you're, pressing the buttons or pressing the keys on your keyboard, all that kind of stuff, right? Controller in hand, everything from how the game will feel and play. But yeah, as with any online game, anti-cheat and making sure the sacredness of the game is maintained. So yeah, that is going to be crucial to us. And that's something that we're going to be having conversations on, not just internally. What is the secret sauce, or what are the things that we need to ensure that all games are played fairly, but also who are the other partners in the industry that have really good anti-cheat systems that also provide them, and also game studios. So that's how we feel really good about our space and what we're doing. Is the game industry as a whole is a tight one, and we feel like in talking with other partners and groups that we'll be able to find the good solutions that are catered to our game, because not every anti-cheat is a one size fits all.
Yes, 100%. And I will tell you right now, the amount of like new anti-cheat tech and companies that have been sprouting up now that, so many games are 100% multiplayer focused and are live service games, and people have thousands of dollars invested into their accounts. Like, this stuff in just the past year alone has been supercharged so much in the solutions available to developers. Now we're building entirely on UE5, and UE5 obviously has their easy anti-cheat, but I think there are a lot of additional layers that we can add on top of that we're going to be exploring. And this AMA is a good preview of how these conversations are going to go, except the only difference is, like, you guys are going to be able to be in a voice and we're all talking together, right? But like, if you ask my opinion, like, I am the most brutal. Like, if you're caught cheating once, hardware ban, get the hell out of here. Don't come back to the game. I don't care how much money you spent, right? Like, if you're gonna cheat, you've ruined our community. You are a toxic part of the community who has no place here. That's my stance, right? And then Deez's job is to talk me off the ledge. Deez's job is to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't want false positives. We want to make sure we have a measured, balanced approach. We want to make whatever, right? And then, you guys individually, the founders, are going to have your own opinions that you bring to the table, right? And then through that conversation, through that exercise, we are going to find a solution, right? And that's the type of stuff we're going to be talking at these dev tables. Is we're going to say, hey guys, look, we had a meeting with these guys. They offer this solution. We think it's a really good approach for these reasons. What do you think? Is it too hard? Is it the risk of false positives too high? Like, those are the meaty dev conversations that we're going to be having, which I'm really excited for, right? But I can tell you right now, I'm going to start at the extreme. I'm going to start at 0 tolerance, 1 offense, get the hell out of here, delete your account, right? And then we need to talk about, like, is that right? Right? Or should we move somewhere else? But yes, what I can promise you today is that anti-cheat is one of the highest priorities, because we are 100% PvP multiplayer focused. So that is one of the things that we have to get right. There are some things that are subjective, of like, oh yeah, is that good, or is that whatever. This is non-subjective. You have to get it right. And so I'm excited to see where we land in our specific approach.
Awesome. And I'm sure that's great for the community to know that we're working so hard on making sure anti-cheat is at the tippity top. You
Except for the cheater community, of course.
Oh, of course. But get him out of here.
Get them out.
Get them out. I know Rob had just mentioned UA5. Kukio has a lovely question saying, what engine is Project Moon running on?
Unreal Engine 5.
Oh, there it is. Kukio, you have your answer.
That's the engine and the tech stack that we're going to be building Project Moon off of.
Awesome. Just to make sure that's very, very clear. Speaking of games that Midnight Society members can play, Grimsy says, will the ARG continue?
That's yeah, that's an interesting question. Right now, there are not plans for it to continue. We plan to leave it up so that people can still run through it for fun. But you know, that's one of those things that's organic, right? Like the ARG started out as a very simple thing, and it very quickly and dynamically grew because of the users here in this Discord, right? And I think that was pretty apparent for people who were going through it live as we were updating it each night. Like it started as this simple thing that we update each night at midnight, and then it became more elaborate, and then we're coding, 15,000 lines of code into a bot and writing elaborate choose your adventure stories, and like it really grew far bigger than I was even expecting it to, right? So I would not be surprised if there were continuations of it to sort of rally around things later on. But that's really gonna, that's something that happens organically. Right now, there are no plans to extend it, but plans change very quickly based on, what the community is into, right? There might come a time down the road where, Founders Access is the first access pass. Maybe we want to introduce, maybe we decide as a community that we want to open it up to more people once we get further along in development. And there's a second access pass, right? That brings people into the group and expands that 10,000. Maybe it makes sense to do an extension there. I don't know, right? So, but right now there is not a current extension plan for the ARG.
Got it. Well, kind of piggybacking on that, one of our OGs, Felipe, asks a extremely serious question, saying, did Sector 7 ever really exist?
Well, I mean, it existed in our hearts. It was definitely there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. In our hearts and minds.
Maybe the real Sector 7 are the friends we made along the way. Got it. Understood. Well, in a similar question, I'll give Felipe one more since that one was so fast. What was the team's reaction to Space Bob?
I loved Space Bob. It took me a while to figure out what we were talking about, and then when someone pointed out that we literally just made a blank text spot on the website, and now it has its own identity and name and culture and personality, I loved it, and I can't wait to see where he shows up next.
Maybe he takes on a life of his own. Got it. Pivoting to some more, shall we say, direct questions. I've seen some back and forth on pre-variants, variants, founders. Jumper has a really great question that says, what, if any, involvement will the pre-variants have in development of the game, I assume?
I mean, it's what we've been talking about, right? I mean, this whole plan that we have in front of us is that's the core of what we're doing here. Is their involvement is why we have the whole pass, and why we are also doing the why you have to apply. And Rob has said it. We're not in this to make money or anything like that. We're all in this to build a game and to do it in a way that has not been done in the industry before, which is alongside a community and a small community of representatives that speak for the larger community. So their involvement is going to be as much as they give us, and we're going to do everything we can to fulfill our promise of reaching back to them, giving them the builds that we talked about, and then have the roundtables, AMAs, things like this, having this type of access with developers on the game so early in the process. This to me is why we're doing all this stuff, and this is the type of interaction that the variants and founders are going to have on the game.
Yeah, but specifically to the question of the difference between a pre-variant and a variant, right? So think of it as we really look at it as claws, which is everybody who plays a game is a claw, right? Variants are people who have founders access pass. Pre-variants in our mind are that group that's in between, right? That group that's going to definitely be a founder as soon as they can get a pass, right? But they are also in our mind are sort of self-designated upper echelon of claws in the sense of like, I'll give you a very tangible example, right? Say we're sitting in a dev roundtable and we're doing a play test and we're like, oh my god, this is really great and we really like this, but like we just can't, like we feel like we need more opinions, right? We need a larger group, a larger test group to sort of focus stuff, right? Or we want to bring a question or a specific dev roundtable discussion to a wider audience, right? To me, that's what prevariance can become, is the fact that like, hey, we need more. We need a more diverse sample set outside of this 10,000, right? The prevariants to us are our identity. Or say we're doing an event, right? Say we're doing a real person event. Like anybody who has sort of been with me on my development journey from like Call of Duty through Modern Warfare to now, I'm very big into big in-person events, right? Like we did COD XP, we did like all these big things. Those normally require a large amount of numbers to accomplish what we're trying to do, right? Whether it's introducing a new element or something. That's where I see when we're looking at that sort of list of like who do we need to include in this. That's where we really look at things like that. So to me, I think prevariance is just a really nice way that we've allowed the community to self-identify as like, hey, I am not a passive observer of this. I want to be an active participant, right? So if we do open up more access passes in the future, then that is like, those feel like they're the next in line, in my opinion. Same with all these applications that are going on.
Got it. Both great answers. Well, I have a fun one for you. Something that we've been kind of keeping close to the vest a little bit, more than a little bit. Artax has an incredible question with, can we get a definition for who the eyes are?
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting one, right? So the eyes, and we're going to touch on a few other groups that we haven't talked about, right? But the eyes, the short answer I can give you right now, and yeah, I don't really give short answers, but the short answer is the eyes are the guilds, right? So if we talked a little bit about in that variant survey, you might have seen some questions about like, oh, if there were guilds, like which one would you be interested in? Would you want one that deals with seasonal events, or would you want one that deals with characters, or do you want one that deals with weapon skins? And like there was a few options there, right? In my mind, somebody who joins a guild or participates in these industry guilds, that's the eyes. So think of them as like where claws are people who just enjoy playing the game, right? They're just gonna play the game. They don't give a shit about anything else. They're like, dude, I just got off work. I want to play. Don't even talk to me about this stuff. I just want to kill things. I just want to shoot stuff in the face. Those are our claws, right? Our variants are the people who are like, I'm doing that. I'm definitely doing that. But I also want to have say in balancing issues and new things that you're adding and feature prioritization. Those are founders, right? Those are variants. And then the eyes are even a step further into that. The eyes are ones who are like, you know what? Like, anybody here who's been in a like an MMO guild will understand this reference, right? You take it seriously. I see a lot of negative people who have like taken the guilds in this weird, like cynical sense of like, oh, they want us to pay to work for them. It's like, dude, that's not what guilds are. Like, if you've ever been part of a guild, like it's a commitment, but it's a fun commitment. It's like, hey, we're going to organize this and we're going to do this. And like, you've sort of just taken on a very active role in rallying people around a specific thing, right? You're scheduling things, you're involved in stuff, and what those specific tasks that you're doing are is really decided upon you and your friends who are in the guild, right? It's like, oh, hey, like a really good tangible example would be, hey, a member of the community who we call embers, right? Somebody who creates stuff, right? Say you're a and anybody feel free to stop me if I'm going off off rails right here, but say you are a 3D modeler or an artist, right? And you decide like, hey, on my own accord, I want to design a cool concept for a gun, right? You don't know how it works. You're not really thinking about it from a technical sense. You're just like, hey, this gun looks cool. Wouldn't this be awesome? Right? And you sign up as an ember, which means that you just want to creatively contribute to the community, right? In an unofficial way. And so we're like, oh, cool, you have talent. Come join us as an ember, right? Think of an ember as somebody who makes Zeroy. I don't know if Zeroy's in the audience right now, but you know, I've known of Zeroy for a long time. I know he's a very active modder. He's a perfect example of somebody who would be an ember, right? He's like, hey, I'm a map designer, modder in my free time. I don't do it professionally, but I do it for fun, right? I've made this really cool map. I think it would be awesome to see that incorporated in Midnight or in Project Moon somehow, right? He would submit it, and who he's submitting it to are us at Midnight Society Dev Team and the Eyes, right? And so that group's job, so he would submit it to the guild whose job it is to evaluate that type of user-generated content. And so it would go through this process of us discussing it like we do any other game feature of like, oh wow, that's really cool. I love the flow of this map. I love the look of the map. I love the aesthetics of it. Like it would be even better if like, you know, we loaned Zeroy some of our guys, right? Like if Deez loved it, right? And he's like, oh my God, I definitely want to incorporate that in the game. Then we have an avenue to incorporate that stuff in an official way. And then the guild's job is to figure out like, okay, what does that mean for that specific ember? What does that mean for Zeroy? Of like, if we're going to include his map in the game, that opens up a can of worms, a lot of questions, right? Of like, okay, well, what does that mean? How should he be credited? How should he be compensated? What does that mean in the future of like officially incorporating UGC into the game, right? And is that even the right direction to go? That's the stuff that the Eyes sort of discuss, and they, you know, we can bring those conversations to the variants as well. It's a very interesting approach to what I believe is the future of AAA game development, where you have that base game, but you're also finding out tools and processes and flows to open up that UGC approach, right? And I think a lot of games have done it in interesting ways, right? You look at Halo with Forge, or you look at Fortnite with creative mode. Is like, what does our version of those things look like? And to me, that is where the Eyes and the Embers come into play. That was a lot of information.
That was a short answer, y'all. Remember, short answer. Okay. Now, that was probably the most interesting thing that our viewers have heard, because I know that we've been purposely vague on that because it's just a big thing to talk about. So many of you, I'm sure, have their eyes go big, seeing, oh my gosh, that's what that is. So just to sum up, the Embers are what we're calling not just content creators, but the people that are call them the creatives. Is that fair to say?
The Embers are the creatives, yeah.
Embers are the creatives, and the Eyes, or also interchangeable with the industry guilds, are the entities organizing the what goes where from the community side. Is that correct?
Yes. That is a good way to do it. And just to be completely transparent, because that's what all of this is about, right? We are vague on the Eyes because when you want something to be a discussion, when you want something to be sort of informed by what the community is feeling like, you don't want to bias it, right? So it's kind of difficult to have these conversations in a way that doesn't make you feel like, okay, I guess that's it and I hate it, I'm walking, right? It's like we want to open these things. Like, I think we all need to sort of get on the same page that these are conversations, right? And so when we talk about the Eyes, all I'm saying is like, this is how I want it to work. And as studio head of the company, I obviously have a lot of power and ability to make it that way, to make it so, right? But that's not how we want to operate. We don't want it to just be like, all right, this is how I want it, so this is how we're doing it. We want it to be like, this is what I want. I want to find a way to bring modders and content creators and user-generated content into the game. I want to create a process for that. and here's how I think it should work. Here's how I think they should be credited. Here's how I think they should be compensated. Here's how I think they should be involved. What do you guys think? That's how I want to structure this. And so that's why, you know, I don't want to just announce like this is how it works. I want to slowly walk us into these conversations of like, here's how I think this benefits us as a community, right? Because I think if we have user-generated maps and modes and the ability to introduce cosmetics from the community, but I want to make sure that's done in a way that is helpful to the community and enhances what we're doing on the game development side and the design side and what Deez is doing, right? Fits within the universe that we've created.
Right.
While also being fair to the person who created the stuff. That's the most important element is how do we make sure that it is fair for the person doing it and doesn't like we aren't benefiting from their work, right? The community is benefiting from their work.
Right. Well, that's probably a perfect segue into a couple other questions here. Taco, one of our OGs, says the founder pass allows the founders first priority, quote, into the eyes. However, do all the people with a pass get insured entrance into the guilds, or do the first 500 receive like a higher priority?
The literal short answer is we don't know yet. We are figuring out that structure of guilds now. There's a million ways it could be done. And honestly, the way it's going right now, I feel like that topic is going to be one of the first things we need to decide upon as variants, right? So once all the applications are done, all the variants have gone through the mist, to use Elden term references. Once we are in that room together, I think that's one of the things we need to tackle is like, what's the best way to structure this? What makes the most sense? Because I have a lot of opinions on how you structure guilds. But the whole point of guilds and industry guilds in the eyes is that it's sort of community driven and guided, right? And our job as Midnight Society is just to make sure that we are building the integration for those decisions in a way that is like builds up the community and answers the concerns of people, not to decide it for them.
And this is why the founder access pass is so important, because the people that Midnight Society picks to be founders are going to influence what the eyes and embers are and do and help with, right? So it's not just, oh yeah, you guys get to help found the game. There's way more to the founder access pass than just you get a cool PFP and you get some merch, right?
Yes. And the thing is, it's like all of that stuff is not going to be for everybody, right? Some people will already be tuned out, right? And that is why we really want to make sure we're building an experience that is conducive to who you are, right? If you just want to play the game, be a claw, dude. Don't worry about all this stuff. If you want to be involved, right? Get a founder's access, be whatever. And if you want to be an eyes, like, dude, that's a commitment. But if that's what you want to do, like, let's do it, right? It doesn't need to be everybody. It's more about sort of creating these levels of involvement based on your interest.
Love it. Now, everybody knows that we've been hot in the presses because the Founder Access Pass and our Series 0 Claw Patch are dealing with, and in the case of the Claw Patch, is literally an NFT. So one of the more better worded questions coming in from Geeky Pastimes says, at any point, will an item created in-game via collecting resources or some kind of challenge, winning a match, etc., if there's an item created in the game, can the end user sell that item outside of the game, potentially for real money?
That's a really good question. It's a very forward-looking question because a lot of that is specifically about the game and the gameplay, right? And a lot of what he's describing is what we call play-to-earn games. And what we're building is not a play-to-earn game, right? It is a PvP multiplayer shooter, as you would expect from, you know, Halo and Warzone and all of those, but with our specific spin on the game mode, right? And the focus of it is, you know, the reason you play the game is not to make money. The reason you play the game is not to create things. The reason you play the game is to play the game, to have fun. to get kills, to win matches, to do, whatever you think is fun of why you play a first person shooter. That's the core of the experience, right? We are not like and we covered a lot of this there's a blog post on the website now called like how all of this works that sort of gets to the philosophy of our approach. And our approach is like our job here is to create a really killer game, right? All of the blockchain NFT integration stuff right now is focused entirely on the founders access stuff, right? And your account is sort of tied to all of that stuff. But if you don't care about that stuff, you're not having interest, or you're even actively against it, then just play the game and don't worry about any of that stuff, right? Because you're never going to be forced or pressured or told to interact with any of that stuff whatsoever. And so like I feel like when people are like, oh, this is an NFT game or it's a blockchain game, it is not, because generally the definition of those things are like all of that gameplay level stuff is written to the chain, right? And that is not what we're doing. We look at all the game stuff as like I put in quotation off chain, right? Because it's all centralized on our database, just like your normal accounts. And you do whatever. So like you're earning stuff in game just like you earn stuff games now, right? You rank up your character, you unlock a new weapon, you do whatever. In theory, we haven't actually figured out our specific progression system, but in theory, it's very similar to those approaches. And so like this is not like I've seen Geeky specifically talking in this video of like, oh, this is a game where you play it to make money. This is not a game you play it to make money, right? This is a game where you play it to have fun.
Right.
The only difference is like I believe very strongly that when you buy things, when you buy games, and when you buy anything, you should be able to sell it. That's how I feel in general as a whole. And I can tell you personally, the reason I feel like that is because the way we've been doing it as an industry has fucking sucked for me as a player. Because I like supporting the games that I play. If I'm going to put 1,000 hours into the game, I'm going to buy stuff in that game, personally. Right? I'm going to buy skins. I'm going to buy weapon skins. I'm going to buy tracer packs. I'm going to buy all that cosmetic stuff. That's just who I am, right? And what I don't like is I don't like the fact that if I move on from that game, right? Like Call of Duty Warzone is a perfect example. I have put countless hours into Warzone, right? Obviously, given my background, I'm a fan of Call of Duty. I put countless hours. I've bought a lot of stuff in that game as a player, as a fan, right? I've lost all of it because how they did their account system and all of that stuff. It's like, oh, well, that's tied to your Activision account, which is tied to your Infinity Ward email, and that's like, it's gone. You can't have it anymore, right?
And it's gone.
That's a ludicrous thing to me in this day and age, right? Like digital ownership should be the same as physical ownership. If it's mine, it's mine. Let me do what I want with it. That's the nexus of how I feel and where I think digital entertainment's going in general. Now, how that translates into what you can do as a player, like we're figuring all that stuff out, But on the gameplay side, on the game side, none of that stuff matters. Just enjoy the game as you normally do, and play it.
Got it. Love it. All right, let's see. Some more specific gameplay questions. Probably one for you, Quinn. From Bane, we have, will there be a perk system or a, quote, special ability system in the game?
Great one. That is something that we are still trying to figure out and iron out and work with the players on. I could tell you, for me, things that I like is, I like abilities, I like gadgets, I like things like that, and something that we are going to try to push for is verbs that help players have fun and find success to cater to different play styles that aren't always just one way to play. And so that is something that you could look forward to in Project Moon, is a way that will cater to different types of play styles and players. How that manifests itself, we have some ideas, but we also want to get ideas from you guys as well. And that's why we have the Founders Access program. And so that to me is what gets me excited is not just that program, but also this game, this title, things that we want to do, how we want to have different play styles and reward different play styles. If someone wants to be an amazing shot and have incredible gun skill to win, we're going to do what we can to reward that. If someone wants to, I don't know, off the top of my head, thinking like, hey, stealth or something where they want to be a little bit more sneaky and win, we want to find ways to cater that as well. Or someone that does neither of those things, that want to be a way to take care of their teammates, to give them ammo or to heal or however that works out. We want to cater to that kind of play style as well. But there's, with those bones, that framework, there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be figured out, and that's the exciting part of this. Is we still have work to do. We're excited for it, and we're moving like we got a purpose. But we want to start with the Day Zero community and get people involved early as well.
Right. And we've said this a couple times on this call, but that's why the Founder Access Pass is so important. That's why y'all that are listening now, y'all that are listening in the VOD, even if you're listening to YouTube later, definitely go check the link. Sign up if you haven't signed up already, because all these questions about, is this going to be more like Call of Duty? Is it going to be more like Tarkov? Is it going to be like Quake? All of those, we're looking for the founders to help guide the not general principle of the game, but we're looking for y'all to help tell us what exactly you want in the best damn AAA shooter you've ever seen. Okay, I see a lot of these questions about BR or Hunt. Is it like Fortnite? Y'all become a founder, and you'll be able to have say in that kind of conversation. So, here's more of a. Oh, thank you. Here's more of a top level one. And sorry, that was the last question was actually from not Bane. It was an acronym for B4 Anyone. Thank you for that. Sorry about the mispronunciation. This coming question from Zillion. What inspired the idea of Midnight Society?
The idea?
The whole kit and caboodle?
A hell of a question, Rob. How long do you have, you know?
Yeah, I can give you like the Nexus story, right? So like all of us have known each other for a while in different capacities, right? Like I worked with oh my, this is a good test of how we talk about Guy when we're not talking about Dr. Disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked with Guy on Call of Duty for, you know, MW2, MW3 is when we were working with Sledgehammer, where Guy was a multiplayer designer, working on multiplayer maps. And then you know, we've known Deez for a while, and then we've all sort of been doing our own things in a AAA space, right? Like I've been focused a lot on development. I've built some like game publishers. I've started some game funds, funding indie developers and stuff of that sense. Deez is like, you know, a hardcore developer. He's been focused on building some incredible franchises that entire time. And then Doc sort of, you know, is doing Doc stuff, right? And I use Doc now because like Doc is Doc. And you know, doing all the stuff that Doc does. And then recently, you know, I think out of frustration, because even when we weren't even when I stopped working on Call of Duty and I went off and doing other things, I was still playing Call of Duty, right? Same with Doc. Like when he stopped working on Call of Duty, he was still playing Call of Duty. And as players, we started to get frustrated because a lot of these games that we love, right? When we criticize things, and I'm sure you guys are a lot of the same way, when we criticize things, it's not coming from a malicious place. It's coming from a place that we love these things. We are emotionally invested in these games. We are investing the little free time we have to play these experiences. These are the things that we do. And so when they're not right, or like they're so close to being right, that is infuriating as a player, right? And so everything we do comes from that perspective of as a player, right? Because I hate when people talk about money in game development. I hate it because I don't give a shit about it, right? Like I've made a ton of money in games. I've walked away from a ton of money in games because it wasn't meeting what I got into games to do. I didn't even know games were a job when I first got into them. I didn't know you could get paid to make games. I just happened to do it because I loved it, right? And so Midnight Society came about because we were frustrated with how these games were not meeting the specifics of what we wanted, right? It's not that they were right or wrong, it's not what we wanted. And we saw a better way of doing it because the old way of doing it has become stale, right? You can't design in a bubble anymore. You can't not include the other people like us who have opinions and voices and passions about like how it's going to go. And also the fact that games are entirely multiplayer focused now, which means the meta is going to change, right? How people play the game is going to change based on their mood and the collective like direction of the community. And games need to be responsive to that, rebalancing, introducing new weapons, introducing new mods, rebalancing those weapons and mods as people learn how to play them or get competitive with them. It's an ongoing cycle. Excuse me, that require a constant back and forth between the players, the developers, the collective community, and then making sure that's being represented. So Midnight Society came out of that frustration of that. We didn't feel like that was happening at the scale and speed that it needs to be happening. And we are very much put your money where your mouth is people. And so we're like, listen, if the franchises we love and play every day aren't going to do it, then we are going to do it. What does that mean? That means we have to form a company. That means we have to build the team with the people who believe in what we believe, right? So we got the ideal together. We decided to, pour millions of our own money into it, and then so like we talked as a group. We're like, are we doing this, right? Deez is like, hell yeah, we're doing it. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you're working on Halo Infinite. What's going on here, man? That's a great franchise. But we could all be doing other stuff, but we wanted to do this together, right? And so we did it. We pulled the trigger. We launched it. And then now it's all about building up the foundation that allows us to achieve what I just talked about, right? A way to include everybody, a way to bring people into the fold, but in a structured manner. Because if it's not structured, it's not actionable, right? Like, we need a way that sort of brings in the information so that we can make group decisions on it, get those into the build, play them again. And so that's what we're focusing on now, is building out that foundation.
Everybody died too many times to dead silence, and they're tired of it. We got it. We understand.
It's a sensitive subject.
Some PTSD, We are coming up on over an hour on this AMA. Some incredible questions so far. I think we have time for 2 more. Let's try to have quicker answers. These have been good answers, Rob. Don't get me started, okay? Cappy asks, will there be any merch soon?
There's good answers, but can we just be a little bit shorter?
Yes or no? You know what I'm saying? People want to wear Space Bob merch. Can we make it happen?
Yes, there will be merch soon. So one of the perks of the Founders Pass is that we are making Founders exclusive merch that will be dropping. Of course, there'll be other non-exclusive merch that drops. But I will tell you, it hasn't been our major focus or priority. Like, we've been focused on building the platform, building the game. And we've definitely started exploring what does that first group of merch sound like. So that is perfect. If you guys have suggestions on what you want to see, I honestly don't know what you want to see. Is it shirts? Is it hoodies? Is it socks? Is it mouse pads? Like, I don't know. I don't think there is a wrong answer, but like, let us know if there's stuff that you're interested in, and we will make it happen.
Yes. It's almost like we've been focused on building a damn good game and not the extra stuff. Yeah. Fantastic. We see the chat scrolling. We understand you want Space Bob on merch. Don't worry. Last question. And this is probably the most important one for those of you coming in from the Champions Club. Batu asks, aim assist and audio. What can you tell us?
Everything we can have the best audio in a video game shooter arena.
Boom. There it is. Well, Rob, Quinn, thank you for answering these community questions. This is not going to be the last AMA we do. Thank you to all the community members that participated, that asked questions. Thank you again for participating in the Day Zero event. If you haven't already, make sure, if it's not clear to you now, I really don't know what else I could say, sign up for the Founder Access Pass over at MidnightSociety.com. The links are all over the Discord. They'll be in the YouTube description. If you have questions, we have the hashtag frequently asked questions section that'll take you where you need to go. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Quinn. Thanks, everybody else. Great time today.
Thanks, everyone.
Sweet. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Come on! I hounded you. That was Lord.
What's going on in here?
Fuck yeah!
It's you guys.
Before we join, it was a normal conversation.
Amazing. That was
the decompressing
amazing.
channel. Is everybody
Dude, what an amazing AMA.
Bro, I'm not
like
gonna
12
lie.
for
I'm
57.
intimidated not having an airdrop now.
Yo,
Baby.
FourZeroTwo said more than 5 words for the first time in this Discord. Let's go.
I almost didn't
That is
recognize it,
The
man.
first time
Who
ever.
the fuck is
Right?
talking? That's FourZeroTwo. Oh my god.
If you did not get an airdrop,
Holy shit.
you don't feel bad. Don't feel bad.
Right. Go for it, man.
There is
Kill it.
other
Variant
ways.
2, bro. I'm
There's
gonna
other
cry if I don't
December.
make it, man.
I say so. All our
gonna be so
answers,
sad.
all our questions
say
has
my
been
name.
answered. So
Well, except one thing that they didn't answer.
Of
which
course, it was a
about-
question you had.
Well, fuck you too, buddy.
But
You
again,
know
you
I'm just
cozy.
kidding.
I mean, yeah, my question was like more about what is gonna make the 500 different from everyone else that's like.
They
gonna
said they
be-
don't know. They did answer that.
Yeah,
They said,
they're
yeah,
not
they did say
sure.
they don't know.
That's to be determined, but they did
What
say
we
it's
do know
something
is
they
we
have
get the
to
pass
answer
for
soon. Is what they basically said.
I don't think, like, personally, I don't think anything's gonna happen because, like, it's gonna be like 500 against.
You're
the rest of
just
the 10,000.
guaranteed you don't have to pay for
You
the
know what I mean?
10,000
Like,
has the same privileges. That's all I see.
yeah, I don't see the 500 having more privilege than the rest of the 10,000 because
They don't.
They're just
It's
so
just you're
outnumbered.
guaranteed the spot.
Yeah,
all of us
it's
have
free.
to pray that we get in. So.
Well, not only
Yeah.
that, Loru did say the 500 airdrops are gonna have additional perks that he cannot talk about yet.
Yeah.
Wait, did they?
That's gonna be cool to find out who
Determined.
gets
They
it.
want to, but they haven't determined it. So.
If you don't have an
I
airdrop,
thought
you will not be left out of like pretty much anything. If
Yeah, I
anything,
don't
it'll
think-
be maybe like a cosmetic. Say I'm 500 or something, but like, hey, you're honestly,
I
you're,
can't. Yeah.
you have a chance to get into 10,000. Once you're in the 10,000, you still get all these voting rights, all these perks. Like,
Exactly. It's not about the
Yeah,
airdrop.
I can't see extra privileges.
I mean,
I don't see how that would
LaRue
work.
said that yesterday.
As
LaRue
long
said
as
it
somebody
yesterday.
sees my name in the application, I'm not worried. But if they don't, that's where I'm worried.
I don't know if you remember, but you guys were supposed to be like NDA'd out of your minds on the extra perks for the 500.
Yo,
Well,
the eyes thing
LaRue
though.
did say
The eyes
yesterday.
thing
no,
was
there is.
insane.
I'm pretty sure that it's been said that there is 0 NDAs.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Everything that we
Yeah.
say is just we get to do it, you know.
So if you want to be like a leaker, Twitter,
Do not
there's
do
like
it.
10,000 of those
the
now.
shit out of like a pre-built game. That's sick.
You're not. Yeah, you're.
man.
Though they did confirm a couple things. This isn't a paid play to earn game, so that's something to be said.
Oh, yeah. One
So
small leak
that
for
part is
2-0 made was
But he
there will be
did
a
say that like if you buy a
default AR.
cosmetic, there should be a way to sell it, which is
The thing
who-
that
the
pumped
others.
me
I
up the
agree with
most
it. I agree with too.
I
was
totally
the
agree.
eyes.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I don't know why people are going against their own better interests with that, man. You got people making videos like
Somebody said something, and they were overshadowed.
I was
never
just
mind, I
saying
guess
that
not.
the thing that I was most excited about was the eyes. Like that's gonna be sick.
Yeah, that would
Like
be
the fact that
For
you
sure.
have like you have people making shit and then
Yeah.
you have a whole nother group that's like deciding whether it's actually going to be put in the game or not. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah, that's really good.
Oh, didn't he dodge the Amos's question?
He
Talking
kind of
about the audio.
Kind of.
did.
I don't think it was straight.
I
up
think that they will make the best decisions to have a balanced game and will
Yeah,
not
we-
I'm gonna
overdo
just
it.
say one thing. Dog doesn't like controllers.
I know, but they will. I feel like there will be
Nah,
aim assist in a sense, but they will make sure it's as balanced as heck.
It has to be console
Yeah, there has
players.
to be.
Console
Yeah,
players
you can't
cannot
play with your
play with
two
the mouse
thumbs
and
without aim
keyboard.
assist.
That's it.
Yeah,
And the
the
controllers
Well,
have
it depends if
have
they make it
a
compatible
handicap.
with keyboard and mouse on console.
Yeah,
Because there
and
are
at the
games
end
that can.
I forget
Yeah,
they
because
answered
there has
this.
to be for the masses. At the end of the day, it has to be able to be something that the average top player can jump into and not feel
Yeah,
like, damn,
exactly.
aim
It needs to
assist
be a
on
video
controller,
game.
you know, like it's Turok or something. You know,
What platform on PC did they say it was going to be? Was it Steam? I've missed that part. Or is
It's
it their own
probably gonna
launcher?
be its
I
own
think they
launcher.
didn't say
It
that.
is its own launcher. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, it's its
Own
own
launcher,
launcher.
yeah, because the
Oh, they
NFT
did.
Because of
That'd
the
be
NFT
interesting.
involvement, they have to. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Did they
That's
say
gonna be
anything
very
about
interesting.
subscription to Uni 5?
They said that it's UE5. That's kind of all.
yeah.
No,
because
but I'm saying,
yeah,
like, obviously I have
Steam
access
doesn't
to
allow
4, but I don't have
NFTs.
access to 5.
We couldn't hear what the heck you said. It was like glorping up and down on your volume.
Me? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you repeat
yeah,
that?
I was saying like at the end of the day, like Steam doesn't allow anything pertaining to NFTs yet. So you know when it comes down to games like this, you know they're gonna have to have their own launcher just for that alone. You know, but I
Yeah.
think Steam
Oh,
might
they
change
they
the
conf-
policy.
they confirmed
Actually,
in
there's
voice chat
Ultra,
yesterday
which
that
is the
they were gonna
blockchain
make
version
their
of
own.
Steam.
They're gonna do their own launcher.
Yeah, I figured that. Kind of like what Tarkov was doing. Yeah, exactly. Which may affect you know some of the game's reach, but or maybe not because look at Tarkov. Tarkov has its own launcher and it's
Yeah.
successful. So.
Tarkov is blowing up pretty good.
Yeah.
What's also interesting to me is if you look on the webpage, they said that like the game that's going to be made originally isn't going to be the only game that they want to make, and that the community is also going to have a say in other games that they make. So it's not just the shooter game that.
Yeah, isn't that what the
I think
NFT
it's
stuff was?
somewhere with an
Man,
episode.
like I'm like so excited for the development cycle of this game, and I just like if they really do keep to this to a T and they do it well, okay, I cannot thank them enough.
Don't do
I
it
got
well.
something I would like to say too, after you guys comment on that.
Is the ARG disabled right now? Anyone know?
It was on for a second, but then it like
Depends if
dissipated.
the bot is not crashed.
The bot's probably dead.
The CPU on the bot is like about to hit over 9,000, so
No,
that
it's,
is previously
it's
dodgy.
Discord that's it's Discord that's stopping like the bot from like receiving any commands at all. That's the problem.
It's happened before. They did it before.
Are you guys doing it in the DM channel or are you guys doing
Yeah,
it on the
DM.
Discord server?
It's in the,
I'm doing it with
DMs.
DM.
It's because you said
There
it
was a
wasn't
guy
valid.
that
Did
was
it in
in
both because I still have the bot, so I don't know if they disabled it, but I still have Midnight Protocol.
Oh, it's not
like,
disabled. It's just fucking
He's
overwhelmed.
yeah.
The boss just
The
chilling there.
Discord
guy
was
that
just
was
like,
over in
all
the,
right, you
pre-variant
can't look
comms or
at
something
Discord
before.
anymore.
It was saying that if they paid for Nitro or some shit on the bot, then it would be like
No.
you'd make it unlimited or
No,
some
that's
shit.
bullshit.
It's
No,
it's so
that's
if they
not-
verify the bot, so
Yeah.
Discord has their verification process. It's like, oh, if this amount of people are using it, then you can verify. But the problem is, like verification is free, but it takes like 3 to 6 months to actually verify it, which sucks ass.
Jesus fucking
There you go.
Christ.
See,
And that's like on a good. That's like good.
That's
Like that's a
insane.
good amount of time. I know people who it took like 9 months for them to get their shit fixed.
so it was a baby bot.
Yeah,
Could
that
you
was
make
one of the
another
big
bot
things back in the
with
day when the
exact same
ARG
purpose?
started with the sector stuff. Was that I couldn't. I always had buggy problems with mine, and it broke.
I feel like I
mine
only had
completely.
like maybe 3 or 4 times
Yeah,
it's
because like
crashed
I
on me.
picked the path and it wouldn't let me pick a path. Like
yeah,
back
yeah.
then.
said,
That's
like,
what happened to me
second-
earlier today. Around like
Yeah, so I
5?
still gotta
Yeah.
wrap it up,
Yeah,
but I
5.
mean, I was there at the beginning, hell, on pre-variant too. So I mean, that's something. I'm just hoping I don't get lost in the mix, man.
Sweet. I'm so stoked, guys. So stoked.
Well, I got something
So
that I
stoked.
would like to say.
What's up, Sweat?
for anyone who's saying that the 500 airdrops will not get any additional perks, Loru said the other day that there is some other perks for the 500 that he cannot discuss, and on top of that, I am excited for day 0, like when we first get into variants, and once they have the earliest build, I cannot wait to get into that shit with all of you.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fire as fuck.
It'll be fire.
Oh yeah, it
fire,
is.
Man.
I just hope I don't
We'll
get mixed
all
in the
enjoy this
applications, bro.
experience.
10,000, they're
I'm
at
a
like
little-
80,000, man.
I'm interested in how the government is going to work. If there's 10,000 of us, like, how's that? There's so many voices, man.
Yeah.
Probably split it up into groups, maybe
no one
like
does.
maybe
They'll probably end up doing it in
Yeah.
sectors. So they'll probably have representatives
Yeah.
that do
There's a whole
polls within
system they're
certain
gonna have to do.
sectors of those 10,000, and then
Yeah.
we'll have to have
Do what?
representatives
Those
that put out the vote of what that.
Yeah, the
Highly
thing is,
doubt
I mean,
all
they're gonna have
10,000 are
leaders
going to be
that-
super involved as well. There's going to be people in the 10,000 that don't want to be as
Yeah.
involved as you.
Yeah.
No, but
I could
wait.
see
hold on
the
a second, hold on
pre-variant
a second.
gathering thing, like that they have set up, being very useful in the future for like guild meetings and stuff.
yeah,
like,
but-
say somebody needs to say something, raise your hand, and then we'll get to
Maybe
you.
there will be a
They
bicameral
were very
Congress for
specific.
the
So you're saying like an
legislative
electoral
branch.
college
my
type of
God.
system?
I don't know.
I think
I'm really
what they're gonna
wondering-
do is they're gonna split it into groups, and then they're gonna like elect a leader because they were talking about like leaders, right? Like that's in the
Yeah.
application
Yeah,
process.
Mhm.
There's in the
I'm
application
not sure
process.
that it does.
402 said one thing that you guys are all forgetting. Around the 9,500, there's an algorithm in the website towards the questions that have been made and what you write down and what you did in Discord and everything
All right, I'm gonna show you guys something
select-
that's relating to this. Give me a second.
to select the right people, the best people.
Yeah.
Are you going to
So
put that in
there will-
conspiracy or are
there
you
will
streaming
prob-
that?
I'll stream it. It's gonna be data science stuff, so you're all about to see how statistics are done.
Okay.
The judicial branch is
I'm-
like the mods.
All right, go on.
I'll show you what they're gonna be looking at, exactly how this is gonna work.
The House of Representatives.
The president is Dr. B.
One thing I do have a question on is
I think it'd be more like an overseer.
that the first 500 is separate from the 10K, or is that?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it
so,
is.
no.
I
It wouldn't
wouldn't
be
get your
fair.
hopes up that you're going to get anything more special for being the top 500. I know some people might think that, but the thing that you get special for being in the top 500 is you don't have to pay anything for your founders pass.
Yeah, and it's a guarantee you're in.
Yeah, you're guaranteed. I think that's special enough.
It will
Not having to pay
be-
for it, and you're
They're
guaranteed.
definitely gonna give you something. Out of this 10,
If they do
out
give
of-
us something, that's great. But I'm not gonna be able
they-
to say
they
no.
are.
If,
They're-
$350.
They're gonna
Out
give
of
us
the
something. They just haven't
10,000.
decided what it is yet.
Don't mind me cutting in
Christ,
right
you
now.
guys
You
are
get
like
2 firm
bulldozers.
handshakes?
Holy fuck.
I'm gonna get a crisp high five.
I'm really wondering how they
No,
will.
you're only getting the nub, not a high five.
So you guys
Yep.
know.
No, it's like
any
Hancock.
speaking of
Good job.
NDA'd out of my mind coming from
All right.
my
So
voice.
I'm gonna. You guys are about to get a lowdown on some data science stuff. I'm sharing my screen. Make sure it's coming through.
Python.
Just making sure you guys know that if I say NDA'd out of my mind, it's metaphorical.
Yeah.
All right. In this chat.
So what you're saying is you're NDA'd out of your mind.
No.
Because I think I'm going to launch that that Jackbox thing for the community.
What is that?
Do it.
Now's a good
No
time.
balls.
Guys,
You won't.
Jackbox Arcade. You guys know what that is? You can play it on your phone. It's
Yeah. Everybody
Is
can
it NFT?
participate.
I'm down for more games.
oh my god.
He's been broken. There's no coming back.
All right, so just a quick go through here and kind of reference some things I was mentioning. So this is a data set. It's called e-commerce, and it's got a bunch of random ass jazz, right? So I'm importing a bunch of stuff for basically filtering out data and stuff like that and doing machine learning models. So this, I just import all my data from the file. So when I'm talking about stuff earlier and I was saying head, this is what I was in reference to. So head ends up pulling the first 5 things in the ledger of data. So you see that this is just the index, the email that's associated, their address,
Yeah.
credit card, session, all these things, right? All these things are going to have correlations, right? So the time spent on the app, the length of the membership to the yearly. That's the stuff they're looking at. So let me quickly just run through all these cells real quick to make sure they're all loaded up. So here's some statistics that just kind of show up to kind of go over some stuff. Obviously, the credit card stuff's going to mean nothing because they're just indexes, but it tells me a little bit about the average, right? So my average session length right near here is 34 across the board on the data, 38, and jazz, stuff like that. So this will tell me if I'm missing any data. So if there's any gaps, I'm missing nothing. This is a matrix. If there's anything missing, there would be like a white bar. So here I'm starting to do data analysis, which means I'm going to start looking for comparisons by putting them in a grid like this, right? So I have my time on website compared to yearly amount spent, right? So you guys might see where I'm going with this. So note how this correlation looks a little bit better. I don't know what I just did there. But anyways,
so take like a section of that and be like, all right, these are the people we're really going to look at.
Yeah, so remember that section this is exactly what he was talking about. Remember when he says esports player, and then they're going to most likely say that they want less RNG? That's correlation, right? So this is generating a correlation right here for every single possible combination of comparisons, right? So here I've been manually doing it. So this one's obviously going to take a hot minute, but then you're going to instantly see the correlation of this data. And then I'll show you exactly what they're going to be using in this one. Just a sneak peek there. And I'll explain how that works. Okay, so here's all the data, right, for every possible combination. The way this works is that it puts every index, every feature, I should say, on the left side, and then on the right side, I mean the bottom here as well. And then, so all the unnamed compared with all these stuff here, right? So as you could say, in this middle one, the credit card obviously has no correlation to anything. This is like normally distributed. This has poor correlation, stuff like that. But then there's this right here. Look at that correlation. So there's obviously a positive trend going on here. It's nice and tight, almost a line between the length of the membership and the yearly amount spent, right? So there's automatically here is a correlation. So we run this. This is called a heat map, which is going to show the strength of, or as we could say, the R score basically of the correlation of this. So the higher it's closer to 1, that means it's a stronger correlation. If it's further from 1, it's weak. So obviously yearly amount compared with yearly amount is going to be 1.
Hey, I'm going to need to pause you for a second because if not, I know you'll go for 3 hours. Give me one second.
Dude, good question. Why are you explaining this to everybody?
So
I am
I know everything that you're talking about.
Oh, here it goes.
Hold on. You got over me too.
Is dying.
Hold on. I am trying to do a Jackbox party games for the Midnight Society community falling on the heels of AMA. So if you would like to join me in the Jackbox party games, I'm moving down 1 channel. Everybody's welcome.
Oh, they're fun, by the way.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna beat you guys.
I'll be down there shortly.
I want you guys know that.
Yeah, that puzzle, the last one that we did, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be I'm gonna beat somebody's ass in this game.
So yeah, just to completely wrap up, because anything beyond this is just machine learning stuff. But what this is more along what I was referring to is that there's obviously going to be some correlations in their survey that they're looking for. So if it goes against this, right? If it's not, so like based off of this data, the length of the membership and the yearly amount spent is just an example. But in his example, if an esports player and less RNG are not matching, that is a little sus, right? If it says that a esports player wants to have a correlation with RNG instead.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me? What's up, man? Oh, how did that go? Or are they just
So,
like drum up hype for the fact that they're going to be making a game? Is that kind of what's happening right now?
Yeah, they're kind of like they're approaching the design as a way of like bringing us as more founders, you know, more people with design in mind. Like they're giving us more control is what they want. So there is no game yet.
Well, yeah, I know, and I mean, wasn't it only like a few months ago that they were posting that they're hiring different roles for things, you know? So
Yeah. If you look at the careers page, it's pretty much there's hundreds of jobs they're hiring for.
That's crazy. You know, I have high hopes. I will be sad if this game's whatever they create, if it's a whiff.
Yeah,
Do I have to do the tutorial again?
That whole founders thing, like the ARG.
Or the like whatever the actual game they're gonna eventually create.
Yeah, the game's gonna be free to play. The games they're gonna make are gonna be free to play. So you don't really need to get involved with anything at all. This is just for the super dedicated, the people who want to have control over things and have more input in the game to then get involved and be a part of the founding stuff right now.
Interesting. Okay.
And the NFT side of it, that was like the main question that they did answer, that the game is not going to be pay to earn, and like the NFT is almost like the game studio guy Rob, he answered it how like he was playing Activision or a Blizzard game and something happened where like his all of his accounts got deleted or something happened with the merger, so then he lost a bunch of skins and things that he paid for, and now it's gone. And so the reason why they want NFTs is so that you get to keep whatever you bought, because you'll own it.
It's like legally yours.
Yeah. So that's the reason why they're doing NFTs, and it's almost like I don't know if like how much it's saying you have to if you're not a founder within like I have the first 500, but I think you can buy into founders for $50, and so I like who knows how they're really gonna fund stuff, but it almost seems like a clever way to fund things with NFTs and cosmetic items.
Well, it gets them the money they need, to get up and going. I'm all in.
Yeah, it's kind of beats microtransactions the way that it sounds.
That's totally what it reminds me of.
Yeah, so basically I just did a whole recording and like detailed like look at all the Discord chatter that was going on, so it should make it very clear what the AMA is and what they're all about. From the sounds of it, it's really honest and sounds really up and up to me.
Sorry, I'm listening and I'm running through this not the tutorial, but it's telling me what to put on my guy.
Sure.
All right. I think I'm ready to rock and roll, dude. How do I join?
Are you Lemon Gueezy?
No, I'm Lemon Smith. Is there another Lemon in here? He's an imposter.
I think we need to add each other in this. I'm my name changed to Grown Up. It's what is it?
I see you in Steam.
Oh, there you are, Lemon Smith.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so I am gonna end the stream now so that it's a clean recording of all of the important stuff.